right, it's 7:01 PM. Welcome to the August 1st meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission. We are being recorded. We're available on Zoom. We do have a quorum in the room tonight, so we can vote on things, which is good. Discussion item number 1, just going through the agenda in order. We have the reorganization of the commission. Steve, my understanding, we need to re-vote on the positions in the commission?
That's right, the chair and vice chair.
Okay. Terms are
that happens every fiscal year.
Oh, that's fair.
It should happen every year after the election. All boards reorganize. You can be the same organization, but you just have to officially vote on it.
Okay. I will entertain nominations for either of those positions, or anybody wants to leave it the way that it was.
I'll make a motion, we keep it as it was. Tracy Sharkey, chair.
And I'm vice chair.
And you're
Yep.
vice chair.
I'm fine with the way it is.
Okay.
He said.
That was the motion he made. Did you want to second it?
Oh, yes, I will. I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Mark, seconded by Mike. We'll take a roll call vote.
Harris, aye. Greco, aye.
Mark Mongemai.
All right. And KG Dudley, aye. All right. We're keeping the same organization. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. And then orders to be signed. We have 4 envelopes over there at the corner. We could pass those around as available. Just make sure if you're going to sign something that it's something that we already voted on. Yeah.
The 92 Martin Road was voted on last meeting.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we can pass this around during the meeting and at least sign ones that we've already voted on. And then meeting minutes for March 21st, 2022. Did anyone take a look at those?
I looked at it, I didn't see anything ordinary.
Okay.
Good to me.
Yeah, I thought Art had input on that, but I don't know what his input was. He looked at it.
He looked at it, but you don't think he had input?
He didn't. I haven't heard anything, no.
Okay. I'll entertain. Okay, go ahead.
I don't think Art was at that meeting. That's why he never commented on it.
That makes sense. Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes from March 21st.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Mike, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Greco, aye.
Mark Mongemai.
H.E. Dudley, aye. All right, thank you. All right, the first item, number 4, is request for a certificate of compliance for 41 Shore Road. Cheryl Prince, possible votes. DP 1430977.
The as-built plan in front of Mark, and then I'll bring up the video.
Okay, thank you.
This is down, when you go down to Walnut Lake Terrace, you take a right onto this property.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
There was a septic repair that was done in the front of the house, right to my right, along with, I think a couple of trees might have been dead along the left side, but pretty much where I'm standing, right to about the right side here, right here, septic as built.
Was this like a replacement of the tight tank? Because that's what,
I believe it was.
direct replacement. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of the last, right before you get to the gate, before you go down the old ice road toward Walnut Lake.
Yeah, it looks like the tight tanks. Is it a little bit bigger?
The previous tank wasn't a tight tank, it was the original septic system. from,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
1963, yeah.
Go ahead, name and address, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm asking for your name and address for the records.
Dan Friend and Cheryl Prince, 41 Shore Road.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this was the original septic that you replaced with a tight tank.
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so the tight tank is marginally larger than was shown in the original plan. I'm looking at the red lines.
It's a 2,500 gallon tank, which is what was planned.
It's clearly in the same spot that it was in the original plan. It just looks larger than the original plan had it. Steve, am I
Well,
talking crazy?
well, I think the septic, the board, well, ultimately the Board of Health approved the septic. They got their certificate of compliance from the Board of Health.
Good.
So we pretty much gave them permission to do the work. And then the Board of Health has control over the septic. I'm not sure if they ran into a little issue during it. I didn't notice it being a little bit bigger.
Okay. I'm looking at this little hashed line, and then I'm looking at the black line of where the tank was gonna go, and the red line is larger than the black line, which pushes the tank honestly a little bit closer to the priority habitat area. And then additionally, I'm looking at some lines that may or may not just be elevation lines, or there was some landscaping work done.
Yeah, I think you might be looking at, we talked about eventually putting in some raised beds. So I don't know if that's what you're looking at, but there was no change to the size or anything. It was,
There was no grading.
pardon me?
There was no grading done? Or you did have grading done?
Yeah, the whole thing was totally regraded.
The whole thing was regraded. Okay, so that's probably what these grading lines are. And then the well ended up being a little bit offset from where it was. But you're saying, Steve, that this is what the Board of Health approved?
Yeah, because the as-built plan was supposed to be in the last meeting, and we're waiting for I got confirmation from the Board of Health Department that they approved the installation of the septic along with this as-built plan.
Okay. So it's just my only issue is, you're right, you've got a priority habitat area next to this, wetland space. Oh, it says existing septic system to be and I'm confused by the red lines, because normally the red lines differentiate the plan from the as-built, and we're showing an existing septic system to be abandoned, and then a large red line of where the tight tank went. I would have expected to see a tight tank in the original plan and not just in the red lines. Do you know what I mean? The design would have been in black, and then the red lines would have shown any changes from that design.
I thought that's what this did show.
So that's my issue. If you put it where I can point to it.
Yeah, no, it's slightly bigger this way and slightly bigger this way.
Right, but then if you look at this arrow, it says proposed gallon tight tank, and this one says existing septic system to be abandoned. Oh, the circle is okay, nope, so they
Yep.
did go bigger. Okay, thank you, Mark. No, that's helpful.
Yeah, the existing tank was,
Is the round circle?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the only thing I'd watch out for, Steve, and I'm, this is approved by Board of Health, so that's fine, but I want to watch out in the future for like these encroachments, right? If you know that the tank is going to be bigger than what was in the plan, then we should be cycling back to Concom, because I would have shifted it further away from the wetland area as opposed to, I mean, I realized, okay, so there's a wetland on both sides. It's just, if we know that something's going to move, it would be nice if we saw it before it was built.
Right, yeah, I didn't know until after they did the, construction, because the Board of Health oversees the actual design of the system.
I mean,
Technically, you can have them come back and amend it if you wanted to, but I wouldn't have picked up into it until they did the as-built, same thing with the Board of Health.
Yeah. No, it's shown well in the as-built, I think. I think that, I'm going to guess that the as-bilt's accurate and honest, because it does show it being bigger.
So we actually have not seen the as-built.
Oh, okay.
I can't see what you're actually looking at. I do know the Board of Health wanted it brought out a little bit, I think like a foot more from the foundation, from a Board of Health point of view, but the original plan calls for a 2,500 gallon tight tank. And it's actually more in the middle behind the cottage than the original septic was. So I don't know. Seems like it.
yeah, I mean, our impression, we don't have the plan that you're looking at, but our impression was that it was put exactly where it was supposed to go on the plan. So I'm not aware, I mean, we'd have to follow up with Fred, with the engineer. But I know when they put it in, and we took measurements, and it was exactly, the installer put it exactly where it was on the original plan. So I'm not aware of any discrepancy there between where it was supposed to go and where it is.
Okay.
It may have been that the designer didn't have the exact dimensions of the tank. And so the tank is a little bit bigger than what the designer showed, which is,
Okay.
it's only a matter of a couple of feet. So in my opinion, it's not a problem.
Okay. And likewise,
We could reach out to the engineer if you need clarification of that.
no, and it looks like it's the same distance from the dwelling, so I can understand why Board of Health thought this was a non-issue. And honestly, to Mark's point, it's not substantial. It would just be good to have a heads up before we see it as an as-built. That being said, at Conservation Commission, if we think that this is a non-issue, I will entertain a motion to issue the certificate.
I move that we issue this certificate of compliance for the replaced septic system at 41 Shore Road.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Russell, aye.
Mark Mangum,
Katie Dudley, aye. You're all set.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep. Next item 5, request for certificate of compliance, DEP 143, TAC 0740, 121 Webster Street, Joseph Etchioni.
Yeah, they're still waiting for to get the as-built plan from the.
Oh, I see that.
So he asked for continuance.
All right, sounds good. Do we have to vote on that?
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't think so. Great. Fantastic. Moving on to new business. Number 1, 7 p.m., RDA public meeting, request for determination of applicability for 46 West Street. That's a septic repair. And since this is new, it probably has a legal notice that I get to read. Just let me find it. Oh, look, they highlighted the address. This is so convenient. All right. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516. Legal notice for public meeting. Request for determination of applicability. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Les Stevens, 46 West Street, on August 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 46 West Street, and the applicant is requesting permission to repair an existing septic system within a 100-foot buffer. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting in the Town of Douglas Municipal Center at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass., or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the request may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. This is posted on July 15th, 2022, which is plenty of time in advance. Name and address?
Yep, Les Stevens, 31 Brookside Drive, Douglas, Mass.
Thank you.
It's probably easier if I point up here with the board.
Thanks.
Here we've got an existing structure, house, 4-bedroom house, existing garage. This is across from the cemetery up on West Street. If you're familiar, this is the brown house.
Yep.
So existing septic system, the current septic field is probably in this area of right outside the 50 zone. And so we're looking to put in a new septic box and a pump chamber, and then the field, which is just outside the field itself, will be outside the 100-foot buffer. And it'd be a big improvement to what's there now, the existing field that's inside this 50-foot, 100-foot buffer area. So we'll be outside of it. But the work is really replacing the existing tank and then installing the new field as a repair at that location. So as I've presented before this board, I'm not a very fan of having the fields in that 50 to 100 foot. I always try to move them outside. So this is the same case where we're able to work with the Board of Health and move the field on the other side of the garage area. So
Still 100 feet from the well?
yes, yeah, completely separate. It's actually got town
Municipal
water.
water?
Yeah, it's got town water there. Yeah, we looked at alternatives with the Board of Health and determined that's probably the best location to put it because the town water feed is in the front of the house on that little private way. So right where Steve's actually walking is really where the field's going to be, and then we're replacing the existing tank and adding in the pump chamber for that. It's going to be a septic. It's an environmental friendly septic called Presby. So it's one of the Presby systems. So it's really uses all the latest technology that's environmental friendly. We set up the silt fence and Strauss wattle just for protection because right on about the 50 foot since we've been doing the work in that area. So we're really just looking to replace the existing tank that's in the back of the house. And then put the new septic field outside the 100-foot buffer.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. The Board of Health approved a plan, I believe it was around July 20th or so. And everything else has fallen into place from there. They're looking to do the work.
I'm sure. There's any comments, questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public on this 46 West Street? Hearing none on either, I will, well, as long as we've had enough time to look at it, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Mike, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric,
Mark Mungimai.
Thank you. All right, public hearing's closed. And then I would entertain a motion to issue a negative RDA with the usual existing conditions that we have for this. You know, you've got your plan to have erosion, yep, I can see
Already
the
have it.
erosion controls will be looked at, and, you know, no parking of the equipment overnight in the buffer area.
Yep, 100%.
So moved.
So moved by Mark, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungimai.
KG Dudley, aye. You're all set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time.
Next item for new business, 7 p.m. 1038 Hemlock Street for a single-family dwelling. Let me grab that announcement. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on August 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by J&M Homes LLC located at 38 Hemlock Street, Douglas, Mass. for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40. The proposed work involves construction of a single-family home, associated septic system, and site grading. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GL 3818. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. The website for the meeting will be provided in the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the plan may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. This was posted on July 22nd, 2022. Name and address for the records.
Hello, my Carlos with Alpha Omega Engineering, representing the owner of the property. There was a septic plan that was approved for this project about 2005, a driveway. The current design is very similar to the other one, except the septic is smaller because we have a different system that's smaller. We have 40 mil barrier to keep all the grading for the septic outside the 200-foot buffer. So basically, the only work is going to be done this little area in the 100-foot buffer of the wetland, and this area here is in the riverfront. Nothing in the 100-foot riverfront. All the septic, most of the driveway, the house, the septic, and the well, and almost all the grading except that section is outside the buffer zone. We're keeping the driveway as far as we can from the river and the wetland, and also we are taking the roof runoff outside the buffer zone and we're going to send it in a driveway. That's basically what we have. No, we're not cutting any trees on the property in the buffer zone. There is a small wooded area here that we need.
Excellent. I'm looking at the plan. I'm looking at that tiny section up in the front that's in the 100-foot buffer, the edge of the driveway.
Yes.
The construction entrance there. What is that that's shown in a different texture from the rest of the driveway? What are the two driveway materials?
It will be paved. The construction entrance is just during construction to clean the truck tires during construction.
Oh, okay. So what is that, like a crushed rock area?
Yeah, truck area just for cleaning the trucks when they come out of the site.
Okay, but the final design, it would be a paved driveway. Thank you.
Do you have any photos of it, other than the aerial?
I don't have it because it's so overgrown along the road and stuff that it was difficult to see anything from the road. It's not an open field anymore.
Right.
So all I have is the ortho. I know one of the neighbors contacted me today, and she might be on the line. I had some comments and concerns with the amount of runoff coming down the driveway onto the street.
Okay.
That's where I was going too.
Yeah, I mean, we've had issues with the neighbors on the orthos to the right, with a lot of sediment over the years going on to Hemlock Street, so that is a concern. As you can see, most of the project is outside the jurisdiction of the commission, except for that section of roadway or driveway.
Yes. But the way the driveway is being graded, it's being cut into the existing ground, and it's really quite a trough that moves the water right down the driveway, right to the road. Is there anything being done to slow down that water or to take the runoff away?
We're taking the roof runoff and we're going to send it in an underground filtration system. That's why we're raising the ground in the front, so it will be above the water table.
Okay, but what about the driveway itself?
I mean, the driveway is about like maybe just above the water table. Any drainage in this area, you're going to introduce more runoff to the street.
If the driveway is just above the water table, then how are you cutting it down 3 feet?
Because
3 or 4 feet.
we have to meet the required grading for the driveway, otherwise it's gonna be very steep if we are working So really the only work in the 100-foot buffer is like maybe 10 feet long section, and in the 200-foot river front is only this area, which is about 40 feet long. Yes. Everything else is outside.
Is outside of the wetlands buffer, but
We're
we've
still
got,
the riparian.
we've got more area within the riverfront
Yep.
than what is within the wetlands buffer.
Actually, that's the river front, and all the grading we're proposing in this area is completely outside. This is not.
No, I understand. I am only looking at the driveway.
Yes, so it's only for the access for the driveway, and we cannot make it any steeper than that.
Why?
Because, I mean, maximum would be 12% slope.
Okay, but you're saying two different things, though, about the water table. You're saying you're doing a dry well, and you have to raise that area to do the dry well
Yes.
because of the water table, but right next to the dry well, you're cutting
No, I'm
6 feet.
Um,
You're cutting 6 feet to put the driveway in, 6 feet down.
Yes, but I'm
So
not
you're in the
driveway.
water table.
But in the driveway area, I am raising the ground to be above the water table. Right here.
All I'm worried about is the cut that you're making into the water table to
Yes.
create the driveway. Are you not cutting the driveway, lowering the
Yes,
driveway?
We are cutting the driveway, but.
Would not that be putting it into the groundwater?
It will, yes.
Okay. So how are you handling that water?
Well, there is no way that we can, if we're cutting in the water table, we cannot do infiltration in the water table, so this doesn't work.
Yeah, correct. So how are you handling it?
And we're trying to reduce it by taking the runoff from the higher area, which is the house itself, and we're sending it into a driveway to reduce the amount of runoff from the site. So that roof, the building is much more than the area and the buffer.
Steve, did you look at the plan and the grading?
I looked at I haven't gotten detailed information, I haven't really gone deep into it. I was a little concerned about the beginning, as you're talking about, the entrance that's going into the street, and how, it's almost, I hate to say it, it's almost better if they try to wind the driveway down or gave some BMPs. It's very difficult how they're controlling the water coming into the street. That, and another concern would be the river, is on the plan, Raul, do you get into how much riverfront area you have? Because like your application says, I think you got 29,000, but you're disturbing more than 10%.
Well, this is an area that's already grass area, if you look at it.
Right.
So there is nothing in the 100-foot buffer, there is only 3,000 in the 200-foot buffer.
But you're still doing, the grading is still considered disturbance even if it was grass already, right? So there's there's the grading for the house, the driveway, and then the septic, so.
Well, that here, which is outside.
For sure. We're just talking percentages though of the land space.
We can add small retaining walls on the side of the driveway to reduce the grading, but it's not going to help with the drainage issue.
Correct.
And doing any.
I mean, the concern would be the bleeding of water constantly on the driveway after they cut, like Mark was talking about.
And I mean, to really try to control that, we have to take it somewhere in the lower area to do it, but that means additional work in the buffer zone.
Is there any drainage pipe or gravel associated with the driveway? Are you proposing any drainage pipe?
No, not really. So we can add probably from shoulders on the sides. in the front area, I don't think.
I mean, I'd recommend staking it out and taking a walk out there. Is there a reason why you cut it so much?
To meet the grade, the required grade for the slope, for the driveway.
No, it's fair, you know.
I mean, I see
we've
steeper
set-
driveways than this all the time. I don't understand cutting as much to create a gentler driveway slope. I understand cutting at the entrance to Hemlock Street so that you have a leveling area before you pull out onto the street. But, I mean, why can't the driveway be steeper as you move away from the street?
Because we can raise the driveway if that's the commission's opinion, which is going to be a little bit steeper for the client, but cannot go beyond 12% still. It's a drive under.
I'm sorry?
It's a drive under.
Under the house. Yep. No, appreciate that clarification. I mean, there is precedent where we've done site walks for driveways with substantial slopes before.
What is the side slope between the driveway and the property boundary?
It's a 2-to-1 slope on the side.
I think something has to be done to not send so much water down the driveway and out onto Hemlock Street. I don't like this plan at all in its design as to how it's moving water directly into the wetland buffer, directly onto the street. It can go across the street, impact the river. I don't like this design whatsoever. I don't think it's appropriate. So I think you need to look at this a little bit closer as to how to resolve that issue, because it just sends the water from the whole house area all the way down this steep embankment, down the road driveway, directly into the street with nothing to stop the water.
Any work done at the beginning of the driveway, which means we don't more than the 5,000 square feet or the 10%, which means also adding more work.
I don't know what to say. I can't, as a commission member, approve of a plan that sends the water shooting down into the road. I can't do it.
We are allowed up to 5,000 square feet, 10% to 5,000, whatever is greater. I mean, we have a couple thousand square feet, we can use it for grading in the buffer zone, as the commission's appeals.
How wide is the driveway?
12 feet. That means more work in the buffer zone.
No, I understand.
And is it being paved?
Yes.
You should have that on the plan. I mean, has there been any sub-drainage patterns? I mean, how much water from the surrounding area is getting funneled into the driveways?
We don't know.
Sorry, my name is Marsha McKenney and I live at 46 Hemlock. I just want to add something to
Can you
that.
hold on until I open it to the public?
Oh, I'm so sorry, absolutely.
Nope, that's great. No, I will make a spot for that. Don't worry. Okay. Actually, no, that's a good point, is that I can open this up to the public. Before we do that, I wanted to ask the commission, as part of this assessment, to try and figure out solutions, do we want to look at scheduling a site walk?
I would be up for that.
Okay. Would you want us, is the property available to do a site walk? Would you want to walk us through a site walk? Is that something?
I'm available, though.
Okay. So
Is the driveway staked, or can it be staked?
could you state the center line of the driveway?
Sure, we can.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be available next week, that's the problem.
Nope, I understand, and we are actually usually looking at weekends. If we don't need you to be there if it's staked.
I'll try. I'm going away for about 10 days.
Okay. Well, either that or we can do that afterwards. Because I know I'm not available at all this weekend. But if you all are, you could do, so when could you have it staked?
It has to be after the 15th of August.
After the 15th?
Well,
Okay,
we can continue to the 15th and then schedule a sidewalk on the 15th.
we could schedule a sidewalk on the 15th, on a Monday?
No.
15th.
No, at the
No,
meeting.
at the meeting on the 15th, we would schedule.
Oh, okay. Yep, nope, we can, actually, you know what, I like that plan, because I don't know what the weekend of the 20th and 21st look like yet. Okay, nope, that sounds like a good option. All right, Mark and Eric, do you mind if I open it to the public's concern? Okay, absolutely, comments from the public, so we'll go ahead and have Marsha unmuted, and again, name and address.
Hi, it's Marsha McKenney, and I'm at 46 Hemlock. I am the property that abuts them.
Okay.
If you're coming up, okay. My only concern is when I was looking at the plan, I thought the driveway was going to come up almost kind of like on the side of my property, kind of close to my property line. And I do know that like when you leave our driveway, there is, when it's heavy rain, right now it's not obvious because we're in a drought. We did have a vehicle get stuck in the mud there. So it does stay wet on a regular basis as it is from runoff, just from road, debris, you know, whatever, if it's heavy rains. So my concern was the driveway also because going across the street into the river and disrupting, you know, ecosystems or whatever. And if they put the driveway really close to my property line, they are going to put themselves in extreme danger because there's a hump that comes over the road right there, and Hemlock has become a speedway lately for that road. So there's multiple concerns with putting the driveway where they have it listed. Not only for runoff, wetland, it's muddy when it rains quite a bit down there. I don't want to see the ecosystem across the street because the river does come very close. If you walk the road, it's very close to the roadway itself.
Okay.
You know, that was part of my concern. I had a concern with the well position too, but I don't know if you wanted to hear that now or bring that up at a later date.
Let me just check really quick. The well is non-jurisdictional for this meeting, so.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Thank you. Any other comments or concerns from the public on this, on 48 Hemlock Street? Or, where are we? Wait, yes, 38 Hemlock Street, sorry, thanks. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to continue to the 15th.
So moved.
So moved by Mike, seconded by Eric, roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem.
Thank you very much. We'll see you again on the 15th. All right, next item, old business. Number 3, letter sent to Douglas Properties LLC on the emergency certification form issued July 3rd for Shore Road, parcel 299, 7.161. So, Steve, did we send the letter, I guess, give us a status update?
So in your package, we have town council here from town of Douglas, Attorney Brian Werner. There was correspondence, I sent the correspondence to Cliff Van Reed. There's a letter, got an email back from Cliff and Douglas Properties and Fred Pollard. It's in everyone's package. I emailed him again tonight to see if he was going to attend. I know his engineer continued the their property on Shore Road. And I also put in a package a letter from the Millers that I received from their attorney today. I'm not sure if Mr. Reed or Douglas Properties is in the audience or not.
Does not appear so. I'm just reading the email, thank you. Okay, yep, no, that's an email we've seen that doesn't tell me anything we didn't already know. But appreciate it to have that written out. Appreciate the email response. But yeah, we would need to, it's not the thing that we asked for. Right, we specifically asked for a plan associated with that emergency certification form, which was known at the time that we issued the emergency certification, so.
Right, so there's three issues at the last meeting. Well, because this is one of the issues.
Right, no, I remember voting to send out a letter to request the plan because that's something that I've been asking for since the beginning of this debacle, so. This is a nice response to have this information summarized in this email, but it's not a plan.
Right. So we do have Attorney Winter here tonight. There is a question on who should be submitting that plan. I'm not, and there's some back and forth between who did the work and who didn't do the work, according to the letters we got.
No, I understand, and the email, states that the neighbors did the work, and we know that the Millers got the pipe, and we know that they put the pipe in the driveway, and I understand the construction sequence that occurred to get to where we are, but I requested a plan. Is the email, so, go ahead.
What email are you referring to? Because I don't have any
so
email.
sorry.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
This one.
You're copying everyone's package.
It's the one to your right. It's
I have that.
yeah, that's what I'm referencing.
Oh, I didn't know that was what you were referencing.
No, that's okay. It's this one. So I don't. The email says, let us know if there's any further if there's anything further you need from us, and the thing that I need for them that is further is a plan.
Yeah, so their emails in response to, the commission sent their letter, asking about, saying that there wasn't a certificate of compliance and that, in order to comply with the emergency certificate, they should, a notice of intent needs to be filed.
Yep.
And so this is and then so at the last meeting, they said they didn't get the letter that we sent in June 6th, so it was made aware to them after that meeting. I contacted them.
Okay.
This is their response to the letter that we sent. I don't know. I can give you a copy of it regarding the certificate of compliance form and how you should within 30 days you should have filed the notice of intent.
Yep. I'm not reading this email as an outright refusal to provide a plan. Especially when the last line says, please let us know if there's anything further you need from us. I feel like I would respond, yes, I still need a plan, or a notice of intent rather, that would include a plan.
And I guess the issue is, who's responsible for submitting a notice of intent?
Right.
Because it's, who did the work, I guess. I didn't let the attorney talk about that, but the way the emergency order was the owners of the property.
Okay. Town council?
Yeah, I'm here and happy to chime in as much or as little as you'd like. So good evening, everyone. Brian Winter. Sorry to be attending by Zoom, but I hope everyone can hear me clearly. As you might have surmised, Steve and I have had a number of conversations about this over the past, a few months now. And I think you succinctly summed it up when you said, where's the plan? We've asked for a plan. We've asked for it more than once. Where's the plan? So that's really the bottom line. And unfortunately, I understand from just the roll call a minute ago that we don't have any representatives from Douglas Properties here, either in the room or on the Zoom. So there's a party here missing from this conversation, and that would have been beneficial for tonight. So one of the things that Steve and I have been trying to deal with is the owners of 115 Shore Road, Miller, sent a letter, I think, today, Steve? Oh, you forwarded it to me today.
Yep.
And their position was, we're not responsible. We didn't construct it. We didn't install it. We're not responsible. That's all well and good, but that's not the lens that we as a Conservation Commission are looking through. It's on property that's subject to your jurisdiction. And so whichever way you look at it, someone is responsible for it. And I can't tell you who that is at the end of the day, but I can tell you it's one of these parties or both of these parties. And so they may have an issue that they need to work out amongst themselves as to who's going to be responsible for the filing, who's going to be responsible for generating and paying for the plan, etc. But that's the problem between them. That's not our issue. They need to work that out, and that's why I was hoping that everyone would be here in the room tonight to hear this. Because as far as we're concerned, if we were going to issue, let's say hypothetically, an enforcement order, I would suggest that we issue it to both of them. It's serving one property, but it's actually laid from that property across the road, across and under the road, and then through 115 Shore. So from a jurisdictional perspective, the answer to that question is everyone's responsible.
Okay.
So if this were strictly an enforcement case, I would name everyone and say, you all need to come see us. Because we know it's either one of you or all of you. So come see us. But now you've got some permitting in front of you. And so without this this construction, this pipe being reflected on the plan, you've got a big question mark. And so as you process this, you're going to run into a problem where it's not shown on any plan, and yet I would imagine you'd want to know what the existing conditions really are before you move forward with any kind of approvals. And that's an existing condition that's not described on any plan as far as I know.
Okay.
So that's what Steve and I have been trying to wrap our heads around, is getting you that plan. And right now, it looks like we're playing a little bit of who's on first. And so we need to keep pushing the issue with both of them. And they need to be, and if they're listening to me now, I hope this message gets back to them, all of them. They need to communicate with each other and straighten this out, because we're looking at both of them. We're not singling anyone out. We don't know at the end of the day who's financially responsible, but it's one of them or both of them. So I hope the message gets back, and I hope someone breaks this logjam here.
Okay.
Because I think at the next meeting, or as you continue to process this application or the next application or related applications, you're going to run into a problem where you're not going to be able to issue approvals, or you're not going to be able to issue certificates of compliance, and work's going to get held up.
Understood.
Is that the only recourse that we have, is to hold back on
Other
certificates?
No, that's what's in front of you right now. I mean, you could take a more proactive approach. We've started with letters.
Yep.
And so usually, just like any situation, you sort of approach things incrementally. See what you get with a letter. See what you get with a phone call. But I mean, ultimately, it could lead to, Form 9, an enforcement order. But, that's up to the commission, how far you want to go with this and when you want to consider that. But these aren't unknown parties, and these aren't parties that don't have any relationship with the town or the commission. We know who they are. They're interacting with you, but we need some responsiveness.
Okay.
Do you want me to try and get a hold of them, Cliff? Hold off for 5 minutes, you can get a hold of them, see if you can just zoom in real quick?
I mean, you could, otherwise we'll continue on to the next items and we can come back to this.
Right.
It's just the next item is also that same lot, just a different parcel.
Can the public have
Madam
a
Chairman,
comment?
may I respond?
I will hold on for, yeah, actually I can, but I'm gonna
Sure.
have you go first, name and address because you're at the table, and then I'll have you come up and speak as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental Consultants, Inc., out of Oxford. The Millers did ask me to take a look at the site. But
Okay.
there's some questions about, the attorney said that the pipe did go onto the Millers' property. I'm being told by Raul that there was photographs and filming showing that it ended at the road and did not come onto the Millers' property, as far as the work.
Okay.
Of course, it's connected to the pipe in their property, but if we have photo documentation or video that it stopped in the road, then we might not say that it was also on the Miller property, the work. That's all I
Okay.
might say. So we would ask for any Mr. Zisk's information showing if he was there, and I hear that he might have been there. I'm not talking directly to him. But
Yeah.
if there's any photos or documentation showing, and the Millers apparently were there when it was being placed too.
Yep.
And can you confirm that it did not come onto your property?
No, it's in the road.
It was in the road.
That's correct.
So why don't we get some of that documentation that you might have and that the conservation has, and maybe show that it did not come onto this property, if indeed that's the case.
Okay, that's fine. For me, it's not important whether or not it went onto the property or not.
It seems to be important, if I could through the chair, Madam Chair, to the attorney that he's claiming that it did come onto the property. So I just work to resolve projects, as I have 67 of them going from McCullum Highway up in Boston at Chelsea down to Falmouth, and Ardrett and Falmouth, and Natick and Framingham and everywhere else. I just came from inspections over in East Brookfield before I got here. I have 2 hearings tomorrow night. I have DOT tomorrow. Doesn't matter. All we do is work to resolve, just as you do, with the wetland protection regulation and people's issues that they might have. And so we would like to see that it maybe didn't come onto the property, and then maybe it is Douglas Properties' obligation to file this plan with a notice of intent. It seems kind of lightweight, not heavy lifting, to file a plan and a notice of intent for a simple pipe that's 8-inch ductile.
I would agree with that.
I would
yeah.
agree with that, too. Okay, thank you. So,
All right.
I'll even work with Douglas Properties if it takes it, to resolve it, if it helps the Millers. Period.
That's a conversation you would have to have, yeah.
We will. We'll see if we can contact them. In fact,
Okay.
if Steve has their numbers, we'll go to them, too, just to resolve this.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And
Absolutely.
Mr. Potash, my pleasure.
Please come up and then name and address. Thanks.
Sure, thank you. Howard Potash, 390 Main Street, Worcester. I represent the Millers in this project and have for some time. Now, I'm familiar with this pipe. This road, my clients don't control or own the road. In fact, we had litigation that town council, I don't know if this particular attorney was involved, but his firm, some years ago, the late Louis Tassino was not going to allow my clients to use the road. And we brought suit in the Superior Court, and we won that case that my clients had the right to pass and repass as a private way, and that we owned feed to the middle of the road. And Mr. Tassino appealed to the appeals court, and the decision was affirmed in the appeals court. We don't own that road. We only own feed to the middle of the road. Now, my understanding, what happened, because of a solar farm creating a lot of water coming down the hill across from my client's property, that pipe couldn't take it. It was an old pipe. It was there 60 to 80 years, long before my clients owned the property. And the building inspector was involved, and I talked to him, talked to attorney for the Douglas properties, Henry Lane, and the proposal was made that Douglas replace the pipe with permission of the commission of the building inspector, and that my clients allow it to be replaced. It wasn't on their property, it was in the road. And all my clients did, they didn't have anything to do with it. They didn't buy the pipe, they didn't install it. All they did, there was a request, because Mr. Miller owns a bulldozer, was a request that, so they could save money, that they could use his bulldozer to open the road, and because of insurance purposes, it couldn't be used by anyone else. So Mr. Miller, at the direction of the people who did the work, who lived in the neighborhood, moved the dirt for them, very little dirt, told what was to be done, and but he didn't have any control over it. He has no control over it. He has no control of replacing that pipe, because it wasn't his pipe. And Douglas Properties paid for the pipe, paid for the installation, and dealt with the building inspector on it. Now, my understanding is that Douglas Properties didn't have a plan, and they didn't want to do a plan. They were merely replacing an old pipe that, because of wear and tear over many years, had deteriorated. Now, the water came down from the solar farm after a lot of trees were removed, came down the hill, and that was the whole situation. Now, we have no control over Douglas Properties doing anything. We don't own that road, and the pipe is not on our property, and so we can't do it. I don't think it's appropriate, respectfully, that my clients are here tonight because they built a very nice house. They only have a little bit left. They've seeking approval of the amended plan on a wall and a walkway. They've done everything correctly that I can see. They haven't, and we hired a consultant, they have not caused any water problem to anyone. There is no water problem there. Absolutely no water problem. They never caused any problem that resulted in the pipe deteriorating. They didn't cause the flow of water that did that. That came from the solar farm up the hill across the street. Property that's owned, lots that are owned by Douglas Properties. So I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think there's any legal basis to hold my clients responsible. And we would respectfully object to that, because we have no basis to force Douglas Properties to do anything. Now, I've talked to counsel for Douglas Properties, and Douglas Properties isn't here. They've been notified. They don't want to do anything on it. They feel they did their job by spending money to correct the pipe and installing it. They got some people who lived in the area who did that type of work to work basically for free to install it, and they don't intend to do anything. And we can't force them. We don't have any jurisdiction or any legal right to force them as I can see, to do anything. Now, we're seeking approval of our amended plan that was continued to today, and my understanding 2 weeks ago, it was continued because it was voted to have peer review, which we don't object to. And I understand that from our consultant that Graves Engineering of Worcester was going to be recommended to do peer review, and we have no problem with that. We would like to get the peer review done so we feel the plan is fine, so that we can have our amended plan approved and complete our outside work on this new construction. And we've done everything in accordance with appropriate action, and there is no water problem there. At this point, there is no water problem. The water problem, which occurred from the broken pipe, was taken care of by the replacement of the pipe, of a long-standing pipe. And I understand that there's a lot of those pipes across Shore Road that were put in many, many years ago, and this was one of them that was properly taken care of. And I would just say, we don't have any control. We're not in business with Douglas Properties whatsoever. We have no business relationship with them, and we cannot force them to do a plan, to do anything, and they have no intention of doing anything for us. So for us to try to convince them to do something, we have no absolute, I don't see where we have any right to do so, and I don't believe it's appropriate to tie this pipe that was approved and put in with permission of this board and the building inspector on an emergency basis to solve the problem, why that has you have any right to tie up our approval of our final site plan because of this. There's no reasonable connection to it. So we would vigorously have to object. We've done everything correctly. We're going to completely do everything correctly. We haven't created any water problem. And I would also point out the last meeting, I was here, there was allegations by Myers and Lawrence, who live to the left of my client's house, new house, that we somehow are creating a water problem for them. It absolutely is not true. It's not based factually. It's pure fabrication. These people have been unhappy from day one. I've been involved for a long time. They didn't like the fact that my client building a nice house on Shore Road, which they have received approval from every board to do.
Understood. I'm going to stop you there because I've heard the facts, and I appreciate it.
But the allegation that we somehow have some responsibility to make, and Douglas Properties do anything, is not based, and with all due respect, is not based on any law that I'm aware of. And
Okay.
that's all I would like to say.
I appreciate it. Your objections are understood. Thank you.
And we would appreciate tonight, the consultant is here, which I have my clients hire on water. Our engineer is here. We were hoping that it was voted to have a peer review 2 weeks ago. We would like to have the peer review done, a peer review company appointed. My clients are prepared to pay the cost for the peer review.
Yep, we can talk about that at item 5.
So we can bring this plan to approval and close. And that's all. I appreciate that very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, yeah, no, where we're going with the letter is we have the letter out. We need to make a phone call. I mean, we have to make contact again with Douglas Properties. Go ahead.
So Katie, because the property, item number.
We're still on 3.
I lost my agenda.
There's probably other people that want to.
I totally understand.
The item for Shore Road, which is Douglas Properties, the engineer continued that, and I reiterated that you're on for tonight for the culvert. And could you please, someone, because Cliff was on that, is someone going to show up? And they responded right before 7 that Cliff was going to try, he's trying to zoom in. So I'm not sure why he's not in.
Okay.
You're aware of the meeting. We could certainly, just so I know what the attorney thinks, give them one more shot at the 15th and certified mail them the agenda that they're going to be on for the 15th. I'm sure the Millers are here. Just for, we've been at this long enough to say, it'd be nice to have everybody in the room before we take it to whatever the next steps would be. I don't know what the attorney thinks about that, but.
Okay. I doubt that at least my position is going to change between now and then. But absolutely, it would be good to have them present to understand. But I mean, at the same rate, they've been in the parties have been in communication before. I don't know that there's more fact-finding that needs to be done on this issue. Except for the one mention that we were looking for any kind of pictures or evidence as whether or not the culvert was on Miller's property or not. I did hear that. But aside from that, I'm not currently looking for more fact-finding issues. I think we know the parties and we know what occurred, and I'm just looking to see the NOI from anyone. Okay. I guess general group, I'm sure there are more comments. Are there any other items on business letter number 3, keeping in mind that we're going to talk about lot 299 in item 4, and we're going to talk about 115 Shore Road in item 5. But are there any conversation items for number 3? That's Jean. Name and address.
Jean Lawrence, 119 Shore Road. Just one comment that I don't understand the argument that the Millers had no responsibility. If I understood what Mr. Winter said, it was in the jurisdiction of both parties because it goes in between their properties through a private road, and that I think Mr. Potash said that they were in court with Mr. Tassino saying Mr. Tassino didn't own the road, but everybody owns half the road. So if Mr. Potash is saying that the Millers do not own half the road, is that different than what they argued in court?
I don't, so I'm not going to guess who owns the road, because right now I don't have any documentation to say who owns the road. I just know that everybody has access rights to the road.
Okay.
That's consistent. Okay. Anything else, Jean? Otherwise, I'll go to Greg. Name and address for the board.
Greg Bentley, 119 Shore Road.
Yep.
I would just thank you so much for your continued dogging of this important issue. I just have to take some respectful, serious issue with Mr. Miller's attorney's representations. I want to just go back to facts because we've been at all these meetings, we've been taking copious notes, and here in a nutshell is what happened. The ZBA requirement, as I understand it, requires, and we have the plan, that the 12-inch concrete pipe be maintained through the historic water path through the Miller property, and that the road grading of Shore Road be maintained. Right. The simple facts of the matter is that the construction activity by Miller's crushed the pipe. It was no longer functioning. We've had lots of discussion about that. Mr. Cook from the solar farm stated that he paid for a 12-inch pipe. In this meeting, he said that he paid for a 12-inch pipe. The Millers went to pick it up to install it and insisted that it be an 8-inch pipe and accepted an 8-inch pipe. The Millers did install an 8-inch pipe. They can't tell us that they didn't do it. They stood there. We've got photographs of them do it. Mike Narducci got on Miller's piece of equipment, which has been part of their standard operations for the construction of the project, and they installed the pipe. Mike stated at an earlier meeting at this meeting that he had helped Mr. Miller replace some of the pipe through the property, and the sizes were unclear. Miller regraded the road once the water problems began, and there were severe water problems, and I'm not discounting any effect of the solar farm. I certainly think there probably was some effect of that, but we had a pipe that was no longer functioning. The road flooded over, and I heard several times, not only a discussion from the attorney that there was no water damage, but in fact that people had fabricated the concept. And I take the strongest issue with that.
Understood.
You want to see water damage, come over, we'll show you the photographs, the videos, the movies, that the water was directed around the Miller property by the Miller's activities and stopped through going through the pipe. We still don't know what size pipe's going through that property, if at all. We know there's an 8-inch going across the street, which is something on the order of 42% of the volume of the 12-inch concrete pipe that was there originally, or a pipe that was supposed to be there originally. Mm-hmm. And there has definitely been a complete alteration of the water course on the east side of the road. It's now heading down towards the Rhode Island side, and it's going right through the groundwater and coming gushing out of our basement when it's not overflowing the road, which fortunately hasn't happened recently. And when it did, it absolutely tore Madeline's house to pieces, or driveway, so forth. So I just have to correct the record on that. And if we go back through the minutes of these meetings, we're going to see all what I just told you is true. There can't be, I get frustrated with discussions of things.
I hear your frustration, and I've heard these items before. Nope.
So, anyway, I thank you for continuing with this, but the bottom line is it was a year and a half ago. We need to restore the historic water path through that property that was raised before the first approval happened, and the zoning board put it on there as a requirement because of the concerns we had. And all of this is just smoke and mirrors to try and get away from that point. We need to get that pipe restored. And if there's going to be we thank you for going for the peer review. We definitely think a plan is in order, but that plan should include a television of that pipe, which some time ago at this meeting, it was discussed that the TV tape had been taken through the pipe. No one's ever seen it. I don't know if anybody's got it, but that's what they should do now. I'm a civil engineer, 40 years experience, and that's what we do to find out what the existing conditions is. And until we have that pipe restored to wholeness, the rest of this is all of us wasting time and money. It's foolish. Thank you very much for listening.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Any concerns that have not already been voiced? Okay. Name and address. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just on last year, as we all know, with the rain events, we looked at the NOAA data out of Northbridge.
Yep.
We did have 11 inches of rain in July. We had 6 inches, nearly 7 in August. Then we had 8.4 in September. So last year was, we studied vernal pool, we studied river. I live on a river. Runoff was extraordinary last year. Some towns had 13 to 15. You were a little bit less when I did look at the data. So we might want to also look at the fact that we had extraordinary rains in July that normally we're looking at 3.4 to 3.7, and we had 3 times that in that 1 month. So if you had runoff from a solar farm and you were tripling the amount that you had in that month, that itself also would have given you those water problems, just to make a point that we had those kind of rains. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No, absolutely, certainly.
Appreciate it.
Okay. I'm going to go on to item number 4. 7 p.m. NODP 143-1024, which is the public hearing continued for Shore Road, Lot 299, Parcel 716, for Cliff and Reed. Do we have anybody for that item?
They asked for a continuance, but
okay.
What do you want to do with the item 3?
Do I need to vote on it?
Well, do you want recommendations from the attorney? Should we send a letter to all parties to see if they will all show up one more time on the 15th?
I don't know that I need them all in a meeting. What I need is the notice of intent. Okay.
So any recommendation from the town council on how we're going to achieve that?
Well, it's so I thought the first step was to maybe get out a phone call and tell Douglas Properties that the response is, they said, let us know if there's anything further you need, and the thing that we need is the NOI. I haven't seen a refusal to comply to that yet. So,
So that's something we should have town council write them a formal letter.
if that's how you think that the correspondence would go best, yeah, I would do that.
Except I would not write it
Go ahead, Mark.
solely to Douglas Properties. I think it needs to be mutually sent to Douglas Properties and 115 or whatever Shore Road.
The Millers, and as well as we've called out the Narducci's on here as well.
Okay.
Okay, all right, what do you guys think about having, do we want to correspond just back to Fred and Cliff, or do we want to include everybody on that letter?
Include everybody.
Include everyone, all right. Does that make sense, Town Council?
It does.
Okay.
And then we'll.
Do you want me to take a vote on that?
My preference is always, if no one's raising their hand, then we're going to name everybody. And we're going to look to everybody. So yes.
Okay. Do we need to take a vote on that?
No, I think we understand the will of the commission.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, and then, sorry, so going back to number 4, they've asked for a continuance. I'll entertain a motion for continuance of the Shore Road Lot 299, Parcel 716.
So moved.
So moved by Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Garrett's aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem.
All right, thank you. So that'll go to the August 15th.
I'm sorry, you continue that to August or September?
We continued it to August. Do you want, do you think I should kick it further back?
Well, I think sorry about that.
I didn't see the request, so if the request said September, I'm more than happy to make it be September.
Let me read it to you, because it might.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't want to waste the agenda time, because it came tonight, and it said, there's discussion tonight on the Shore Road culvert. Hi, Steve. Not sure if I requested continuance for this project. As mentioned, until the culvert and solar project drainage is resolved, this project is on hold for now.
Okay. Well, he's part of that solution, so, all right.
Continue till September.
All right, continue to September, fine.
September what?
What's is it the 12th?
Yep.
Because that first weekend's Labor. All right. Board, do you agree September 12th?
Yes.
All right, yes, we all agree September 12th. All right, thank you. All right, item number 5, NOIDP 1430914, public hearing continued for the amended notice of intent for 115 Shore Road, Robert and Diane Miller. Yes.
Ralph, my case was out from Omega Engineering. Basically, we were waiting for the peer review, but no one came. I mean, we don't have any comments from anyone.
Oh, so we don't have a peer review yet. All right.
That's what I understand from Steve, that there's no peer review yet.
Okay.
Now, I sent the comprehensive package to the Graves Engineering. The peer review as requested, 115 Shore Road, and then the one you just continued to September 12th. I'm still waiting to hear back from him about what his cost proposal would be.
Okay.
I was hoping to get some today for the commission to vote on, but what would help expedite it, it sounded like earlier that if the applicant are amenable to the price that the commission just approves the peer review, if the applicant's going to pay for it instead of waiting for the 15th. And so if the peer review cost comes in the next couple of days, we don't have to wait for the 15th for the commission to approve it if the applicant's going to pay for it and approve that cost.
Okay. Name and address for the board?
Glenn Kowalski from EBT. We would just like a copy of it before the final approval, just to see what that cost is. I mean, normally we would get just to say yes. We've just did another one in Sturbridge like that.
Well, Glenn, I send it to you, and if you approve it, we don't have to wait for the 15th.
Oh, totally. I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
We'd still like to see the cost. I mean,
for sure.
And then just, so the millers can see it, and then just give it the okay like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're definitely amenable to that. Okay, absolutely.
Well, the peer review will be for our property or the revision we're proposing, or also for the road itself and the pipe? Is that
For the revision that you're proposing. And
only whatever we're proposing in our property, nothing to do with the road and the pipe?
I don't know, Steve, what did you put in the proposal?
At this time, we asked for it, it's broken out into 3 different sections. The first 2 is, one is for the amended notice of intent for 115 Short Road. One is for the existing notice of intent, the one we just continued through September 12th. Those are separate. And then the culvert would be one after we determine, once the notice of intent is filed, that.
Oh, okay.
That could be reviewed too. And they all could be linked, or they all couldn't be.
Sounds like they don't want them linked.
No,
Correct.
correct.
So, all right, so we were just talking about a peer review for the amended
Right.
notice of intent. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, name and address?
Howard Potash, 390 Main Street, Worcester. I represent the Millers. We just want to see what the cost is going to be, and my clients are quite willing to pay for peer review if Graves Engineering, as I understand, so we can move this along to approval. But I would just state for the record that we object, again, to tying this to the pipe that we don't have any control over, and we don't, and in all due respect to town council, we don't have any authority to force Douglas Properties to do anything. If it's going to be enforcement, Douglas Properties bought the pipe, installed the pipe, hired the 2 chiefs to do it. We didn't have anything to control over it, and we, therefore, there should be no enforcement against us because we didn't do anything. And we would vigorously oppose any enforcement in that regard. And again, we don't believe that Douglas Properties is going to come or do anything in this regard. And we would not have the right, since we didn't do the work, buy the pipe, install it, we have absolutely no right to do anything with it whatsoever. We don't have any legal right to go and do something and force someone who did something that we don't have any authority over. The board has authority over Douglas Properties, but my clients, the Millers, have absolutely no authority over them.
Understood.
Thank you. And so we would like to get the peer review done, so on the September 12th meeting, we can move this matter to final vote, and we believe that the plan was done correctly and that it will be sustained by peer review.
We'll see.
Thank you very much.
All right, so this time I'm entertaining the motion to, what is it, Steve, just to approve the peer review for the amended notice of intent for Graves Engineering, assuming that they will, of course, see the cost before that goes through?
Well, it's to give authorization that the commission will approve it if the applicant is amenable to the cost. If there's a discrepancy, you would certainly bring it to the 15th and they can argue over the cost. But if they agree to the amount that Graves wants to charge for the peer review, then we could expedite the review by not waiting to the 15th. But we certainly will give them the breakdown, the cost, whatever he's going to do so they can review it before it. And we won't have them do the work until we get the check and they approve it.
Okay. So then correct me if I'm phrasing this motion wrong. Did you want to speak before me?
Oh, well, Glenn Kowalski again. Just the point would be is that within 1 to 2 days, we would give you the answer right back. So we're not going to hold this thing up over a long period of time. Probably within a day, we'll see it, the Millers will see it, and it will be sent right back to you.
Fair? Good. Okay, I will entertain the motion to give authorization for the peer review, provided that the Millers and company are amenable to the price for the peer review by Graves Engineering for the amended notice of intent for 115 of Shore Road.
So moved.
Moved by Mark. Seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Parasite. Clark Go
Mark Mungimai.
Thanks all.
Yeah, I guess.
And
right,
then
so-
I also,
well,
go, okay.
I guess the only, like, town council's here is that, there's a question on it being linked and the argument if all three projects are linked. Is it linked or isn't it linked, or are the notice of intents all linked together? Is, what's the process if we go through, if you go through the peer review and then the notice of intent, they all filed again and he's reviewing things twice or not? I'm just looking in the future.
Okay. You're worried, okay. What's the process if they're not linked? Because I really just, okay, go ahead.
Is it linked? Are they linked or aren't they linked? And should the peer review have an eye on in the future if they're going to be linked or not, or do we separate all of them? So, I mean,
so please understand the reasoning that I don't want them linked is because I know that none of these groups are going to be willing to fund the peer review if it is linked, right? So if I want any of these peer reviews done, then I don't want the peer reviews linked.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
If we can request documentation, we could request through email, but if we're seeing as we're here, we would just like the emergency order that was given to Douglas Properties, and we'll ask the ZBA for that decision if Mr. Potash doesn't have it. The original one where 12 inches talked about a few times. The original,
yeah.
Just to see the 12-inch for my own good, because I haven't seen it, and also, again, just the emergency order to see whose name is actually on it. So,
okay, Steve, is that something that we can provide?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, yeah.
Thank you again, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We still have to vote to continue the item.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, Board will entertain a motion to continue 115 Shore Road to, are we just going to go to September 12th?
Sure.
Okay. Quickly before I did that, Jean Lawrence, did you have something else for this item?
I just wanted to say that the limitation of the peer review, those different categories, I'm not sure exactly what's covered, but it seems like the question of flooding is what we want. Like, is this causing flooding in the area and redirecting water? So if those are conceptually tied, like those different three pieces, it just doesn't seem, to make sense to separate them. But and I also just want to mention at the end of the last meeting, I think it was discussed whether it should be very restricted to the amended notice of intent, and then it was they should evaluate what you have done here on this property. So the broader, I think, the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just at the last, some of my notes from the last meeting, strictly with the notice of intent for 143-014, the amended notice of intent, that there was concerns, and I sent the link to the peer review consultant to that meeting, because a lot of concern was over concern about runoff from the berm being raised along the road, road being raised, and the front yard had been raised. A peer review of the project of what was existing and what's being amended and the as-built and what's been done at that time. So those items pretty much for the construction of that notice of intent is being peer reviewed.
Gee, does that help answer your question?
Yes, I think that does. Thank you. And I just wanted to say I held off, but Mr. Bentley already kind of said it. But I also want to say that I do not agree with the accuracy of what Mr. Potash said about that there had been no problems of water created. I do know the solar farm contributed, but that water was directed to Madeline's property and then more recently to mine. And even before the solar farm existed, there was some, Madeline had expressed concern about water being directed to hers, but it was less intense at that time. And I would like to provide videos of flooding from that culvert going through my basement that happened in like February, more recently.
Okay.
So it wasn't just the weather.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Thanks. I'll entertain the motion to continue 115 Shore Road to September 12th. I'd also entertain a motion to move it to August 15th, but I don't know what we think is more reasonable. They've got to have a peer review done. No, we gave authorization to start the peer review if the millers are amenable to the cost.
Okay.
So that when the peer reviewer comes back with the estimate, if the millers are amenable to the cost, they can go ahead and do it because we already gave authorization. But in order for us to vote on the item, number 5, which is the amended notice of intent, the peer review has to be done. And the peer review at this point has not even been started. So that is why my question is, should we push it to?
No, it's the 12th. It's more
Okay.
likely. It's not even, it hasn't even been proposed yet.
Correct.
They haven't put together, so
All right.
have it done for the 15th.
Second that.
So you're seconding? Motion made by Mark, if you don't mind, seconded by my roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Rucko, aye.
Mark Mungemine.
Thank you. Item number 6, NOI DEP 1431054, public hearing continued for the notice of intent for Lot 1 of Walnut Street, the new single-family dwelling.
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you for your patience, and name and address for the board.
Norman Hill, 52 Millbury Street, Grafton, Mass. I'm with a consulting firm of Land and Planning. I'm a licensed civil engineer, also a licensed land surveyor. Been in this line of work for over 40 years. So I'd like to give you an overview. Mrs. Pepker owns over 20 acres on the south side of Walnut Street. Have you all been to the site yet? Or do you know where the site is located?
I'm familiar with Walnut Street, I have not been
It's
to
in
the
the
site.
southwest corner of the town. You went down 98 and took a right. Walnut Street's out in that area. So we looked at the 20 acres of land. I'd like to give you an overview first. There's a river on the eastern side, so you have riverfront implications over there. So we've stayed as far away from that river as we could. There's also a finger of wetland that comes up through the center of the property here. And there's some other wetlands out back. So our first flow here is to create 4 frontage lots. So we did official perk and depot test with the Board of Health and perked all 4 lots out near the front, out near the street. So this lot goes uphill from the street, 5 to 10 feet in elevation. Then it goes downhill out back to wetlands. That's why we're filing it tonight, because we're within that buffer zone of that wetland. So you go up from the street, you go down and back, the wetland's out there. So that's sort of an overview. Now, you called up lot 4. Before we get to lot 4, let me just show you. So these 4 frontage lots, this will blow up with the 4 frontage lots. The river's to the east, wetland comes through the middle. So this land goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So we've got the house and septic on lot 4 here, house and septic on lot 3, house and septic on lot 2, house and septic on lot 1. Lot 1 is the one that's closest to the river. Now, I had flagged all of the river and the wetlands, and then we paused for 6 weeks so Arthur Allen could go out and check our flags. He's done that. He's agreed with all of the flagging except for 2 flags down here, which he has relocated. We've now surveyed Arthur's new flags, and these plans now show Arthur's line with his new flags. And over here, he added some flags to get over here to a culvert. We've added those and shown those on these plans as well. So, another couple things about the overview. We're not proposing to do any work in a wetland. There's not 1 square foot of wetland that we're proposing to alter. There's not 1 building proposed within 50 feet of the wetland. And all of the septic systems are more than 100 feet from the wetlands, more than 200 feet from the river. So we've tried to keep the proposed 4 houses, septics and wells as far from the wetlands and resource areas as possible. Now there is a special consideration here regarding riverfront. The riverfront law says you can't alter more than 10% of the riverfront on your lot. But if you look at the overall project of the 20 acres, there's almost 6.5 acres of riverfront. So 6.5 acres of riverfront, 10% of that is more than a half acre of perhaps allowed, if you okay it, perhaps allowed riverfront alteration. On lot 1, we're proposing to alter 6,700 square feet. There's only 73,000 on that, so it's still under 10%, but on lot 2, we're proposing to alter 10,200 square feet, but there's only 8,600 square feet of riverfront on lot 2. So we have to do an aggregate. So what we're going to do is a deed restriction on the remainder of the land, on the entire 20 acres. My client's going to put a deed restriction that says not one more square foot of riverfront can be altered ever. So in doing so, she's given up a lot on the other side of the river. There's upland over here where we could bring in a driveway and build a house over there, but that we're going to give up. We're willing to do a deed restriction that says we're not going to alter another square foot of riverfront ever on this 20 acres of land. And that is in exchange for being able to aggregate the riverfront for these 2 lots. So now, that's a very complicated overview. We'll get into lot 1.
What's the solid,
I'm sorry?
what's the solid blue line here?
That's the floodplain. That comes off the flood map.
Oh, FEMA flood zone A, okay.
Yeah, I did too.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm just reading it to myself. It's labeled as FEMA flood zone A.
Yeah. So here's lot 1. So the river is to the east, that flood area is to the east. So we're well above the flood of it, well above the flood area. But the riverfront zone, here's the 100-foot buffer line for the river, and here's the 200-foot line. 200-foot riverfront line. That's the 100, this is the 200. So we're proposing the house is partly in the 200, the septic's outside of it. In the driveway, we've actually provided an easement on lot 2, keep that to minimize the riverfront alteration. So that, this is lot 1's driveway, cuts through, this is lot 2's property line. So the driveway actually cuts through part of lot 2, so that there's no alteration there in the riverfront until you get over here. And then there's the house. Now, regarding the wetland line's down here, so we're over 100 feet from the wetland to the house and septic and driveway, so the wetland's down here.
I'm confused. I'm seeing the house between the 50 and the 100.
Yeah, the house is between the,
Most of the house is between the 50 and the 100.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep, because this wetland up here. Yep. So if you have to answer any questions on this lot.
So, comments.
You want to do yours first, Steve?
Well, I just want everyone in their package, they go out for peer review to Equitech, and everyone should have in their package their review.
Oh, okay, good.
And part of his review, and along with his review, there was some followed up plans from land planning. I attached Equitech's, and I put in pink parentheses so you can see in some additional comments along with the plan. Specifically, there, you can see on his review there was violations. There was a history of a violation due to our logging operations that the state forester caught, and there still seems to be some outstanding violations. So that's why you see that in Art's comment. And one of the comments I had, Norm, and I still haven't seen them, is that, and Art had the same thing, is that thank you for submitting the overall plan at a 100 scale that you can see all 4 lots at once, but the 20 scale plan, we really would like a 40 scale plan also, so you could see the wetlands and more of the entire surrounding area of the proposed septic house, well, and driveway. When you look at the 20 scale plan, you really can't see too much what's going on in order to complete the review. So that, along with some of the comments from Art, there was a couple of flags that he noticed. I'm not sure if he put them on the plans, along with lot 1. And then the work disturbance limits on lots 3 and 4 within 25 feet of the wetland. Since this is a local regulation, I believe this would require a waiver. So that, and if you can get us the 40 scale plan, I'll send them off to R2 and myself, and I can do a little bit more of a proper review of the each individual site.
So if I could say a few things. So Mrs. Pepper had hired a tree clearer long before she hired us, and he kind of just went in and drove wherever. And he butchered the property, he left all the branches laying everywhere. It was a nightmare. But they did pull the proper permits before they did the tree clearing. And my understanding is that they've been signed off on the tree clearing. So the tree clearing, you mentioned some violations. I'm not aware of any cited violations. I know when I got there, I was pretty disgusted with the site, but it's all grown back in, you know, the underbrush and it's all grown back in. So if you were to walk out there now, you wouldn't notice what I noticed when I first arrived to the site. But I believe the tree clearing is done and signed off. The permit's all signed off. I'm not aware of any cited violations for the tree clearing. Now, regarding a 40 scale plan, it shows less detail than a 20 scale plan. A 20 scale is a blow up. I don't understand why you would want to reduce the size of these drawings to a 40 scale.
So because you can't see the wetland flagging in relationship to the buffer zones on your 20 scale plans.
Well, as we look at this 20 scale plan, you've got the wetland finger coming in here, flag 219, 218, you've got the wetlands down here. It makes no sense. I don't see why you want to see, I mean, we're showing the wetlands further over and the river further over on the master plan. You can see the river and the wetlands further over. Why would you want that at a 40 scale?
Because you should be able to see each flag that's associated with the buffer zone on that individual lot, and the 40 scale will show you that.
Well, you can see it on the master plan. Each flag number is listed. Each flag number is there. I don't know why you want to reduce it.
That's proper standard procedure for us.
Do you normally require a 40 scale plan rather than a 20 scale?
We need to have a plan that shows the wetland flagging.
Well, I've submitted that.
So, and then on the peer review, on the first page, Art talks about contacting the state forester, Mike Down, regarding how they sent the violation regarding that, and how there's an active violation on the property. Because I agree that the wetlands violations exist and should be rectified as part of the order of conditions or an enforcement order. So that's part of the peer review.
I'm not aware of any enforcement orders for that tree clearing. My understanding is the permit's all been signed off. That was done last year, I believe. Steve, do you have any reference number or state violation number?
Did you get a copy of the peer review report?
I did, yes.
Did you read it?
Yes.
So it's right on his first paragraph. He talks about the violation.
Yeah, but I'm not aware of what they are or who issued them. Or it's not even close to this lot. I don't even know why we're talking about that now.
He also notes in the letter here, it says, he informed me that the violations had been addressed.
Yeah,
through a revised cutting plan and by some cleanup and stabilization, and that although he was satisfied with the final condition, there may still be violations, but it doesn't say there are violations.
So whatever happened last year regarding that, I believe it got all sorted out.
I'm just going by his email, you know, basically he had some comments. I don't see a written response from his 7-6 comments. I don't see the revised wetland flags on lot 1, unless you change that.
No, we changed that.
As I said, this is because you don't show the entire lot. The entire lot should be shown along with the revised flags of buffer zone. There does not appear to be any cleanup or restoration of the logging damage proposed. I guess you're saying that none is needed. And there do not appear to be any permanent work, limited areas, signage, etc. proposed. I forwarded you his email with his comments last week.
Yeah, my client would be willing to put up the signs, the permanent signs to demarcate. You could put that as a condition. My client's willing to put up the signs saying stay out of the wetland.
Yeah, depending, I mean, we'll look at that on a lot-by-lot basis, but maybe be looking for something more permanent, like stones or a split rail fence.
And then the only other comment would be, I'm sure Norm realizes that the lots were, I know they were all one, it all was one lot at one time, which had a significant amount of riverfront area, but the lots were created. I think when you create them, then you lose your grandfathership. So each lot one is really its own individual lot. So you guys have an alternative with that, with some type of deed restriction. So you probably want to step through that process carefully to make sure that you're complying with the WPA 1098 riverfront area.
Yes, my client's willing to have a deed restriction put on the entire 20 acres, saying that 1 more square foot of riverfront will be altered.
Right. So the 20 acres, so when you say that, you're not going to, so is the entire 20 acres not going to be disturbed, or just the riverfront on the 20 acres?
Just the riverfront, no more riverfront alteration.
Not the 20 acres?
Correct. On the entire 20 acres, not 1 square foot of riverfront will ever be altered again. So she's willing to put that deed restriction on there, that allows us to aggregate this, just like you would with a subdivision. I know they're separate lots now, but you don't lose that ability to do that, you know?
It would be on lots 1 and 2,
Yes.
not lots 3 and 4.
Well, the whole 20 acres, the deed restriction will say there'll be no more riverfront alteration anywhere on this property. Lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and the remaining land. But that's normally done as a condition of approval. You don't hire a lawyer and go through all that expense before you get the lots approved with that condition.
Why would you add that restriction to lots 3 and 4 if they don't have any riverfront?
Well, we're just going to say all the land, not going to, so just, there's no question, it just takes all the land off the table, no more riverfront alteration.
Yeah, but isn't it written such that you can only disturb a certain percent based on the amount of riverfront area and non-riverfront area?
Yeah, but then they have this aggregate section at the end of the riverfront section.
Right.
It talks about aggregate. You can take the overall property, look at the overall riverfront, as long as
Yeah.
you're under that.
But what I'm getting at is if you're, appreciate that. So say we look at it as an aggregate, right? It's the whole 20 acres. And over the course of the whole 20 acres, you're not allowed to disturb more than a certain percentage,
10%, yeah.
10% of the riverfront area. Not as a percent of the whole property with the riverfront area?
Well, this property's 20 acres, but only 6 acres is riverfront. About 6.5 acres are in the riverfront area. So you by law, you might allow them to alter up to 10% of that 6.5 acres, which would be a little over half acre. And we're proposing to alter.
Right, but you'll have already surpassed that on these lots.
No. Lot 1 is 6,700, and Lot 2 is 10,200, so the total is 16,900. That's less than a half acre of alteration. That's less than a half acre out of 6.5 acres. That's an important...
The issue is that they created the lots already.
That's okay.
No, I understand
Doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, Steve. I mean, I could have a 30-lot subdivision, and in one corner, I've got river. You can aggregate, you can go over 10% on any of those individual lots, as long as you do the aggregate and have the deed restriction.
Is this the entire property, or is there more property?
This is just the 4 lots. This is the entire property here. So there's the 20 acres plus 5 acres. There's 25 acres total. And so there's the river, that flows the river. So this is all riverfront. All that area is riverfront. That's 6.5 acres. So the below is the river. Yes, the 100
Is this the whole thing, lot 1?
Yes.
But this is being
All
cut
part
out
of
of this.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's difficult to understand. This is the first time I've been able to explain it to you, but...
So you're saying that the riverfront work that you're proposing and the deed restriction you're proposing is not going to impact further riverfront work.
Anywhere in that 25 acres, that's correct. Yep.
Not just the lots here, but the whole thing.
The whole thing, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. And then, just to clarify for me, that driveway coming out from Lot 1, is that driveway on Lot 2?
That's mostly on Lot 2, not entirely. So, comes off the street on Lot 2. By the time it gets to here, it crosses on the Lot 1. Here's the line between 1 and 2. Crosses on the Lot 1, and then goes into the garage, and then the house and septic are here. Wetlands are down there, and the river's over there.
I know this isn't like a real Conservation Commission question, probably more of a planning board question, but why? Why did you not make that a single lot?
Well, had we brought the driveway in over here, we'd be in the riverfront zone.
Oh, agreed. Why are the lots drawn that way?
Well, you have to have so much frontage and acreage per lot.
Oh, okay.
So you have to have so much frontage per lot. And then that frontage went out here. And then we decided, well, how can we minimize the impact of the riverfront? So we bring the line over here to the backside of 2. We bring the house over to here. What would have been all of 2, now it's 1.
So you're just trying to make your frontage percentages work?
Well, you have to have the frontage for each lot.
Right, because otherwise Lot 2 wouldn't have enough frontage. So they need to take that section of Lot 1.
Yeah, Lot 2 needs that frontage, yes.
Yep, okay.
Yep. But it's not to respect the riverfront, bring the house out of it.
No, I hear you. No, I understand why the house is where it is on the lot.
Yep, yep.
Did you prepare alternative plans?
I did do an alternative analysis that Arthur Allen reviewed and approved. Yeah.
Has the, have the driveways or the houses been staked that we can go out and take a look at them?
We haven't staked their proposed location yet, we haven't. They're all high and dry, well above the river and the flood, and so these driveways will go uphill into the highest part of the land. And then it goes downhill behind the house, back to that finger of wetland out back.
Does anyone else from the board want to see the?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, conceptually, I want to sidewalk. I don't know if I functionally want to sidewalk it, but I definitely.
It's not as far as the last one.
It's not as far as
And it may not be 90 degrees, or 100 even.
It depends when we schedule it.
Right, of course. Oh, are these alternatives?
That's the alternative, so.
Geez, I thought you were giving me a new subdivision plan.
Well, that's.
Someone else.
Well.
Yeah, we had thought about doing that, but this is much less intrusion here.
So they plan on developing parcel A?
Not that I'm aware of.
So,
Why not? There's upland back there.
so the amount of riverfront area that you calculated was done how?
I'm sorry, Steve.
The amount of riverfront area, so the whole thing stems from the amount of riverfront area that how'd you calculate the remaining riverfront area on the lot?
So you have.
From GIS, or did you flag it?
We flagged it. Okay. So here's the overall property line, it's that to there. So the riverfront area is that area right through there.
Yeah.
So we flagged it, located it, calculated it.
So what do you, so
this is about 6 acres of riverfront.
you're counting the riverfront area on this side. So what's happening with that?
Both sides of the river. Yeah, so all of this land over here, this nice upland over here, that's going off the table. We'll never impact that, because that's gonna have the deed restriction on it. Mary wanted to put a house there. I said, Mary, that's all riverfront, let's not put a house there. Right, Becca? So we really took the resource areas into consideration when we decided to do this.
Is this wooded?
I'm sorry?
Is this a wooded site?
Yes, it's all woods. It's all woods. The tree clearer took down the big oaks. So like the 3 and 4 foot diameter oaks. Just made a mess. But all of the other trees are still there, all the birch and maple and smaller oaks.
Would you be able to mark the driveway entry points and the building units for us to be able to?
We can. I would only charge about $400 a lot. I would charge it to do that. We could definitely do that. Yeah. Because it would help to walk the lots, because you'll see how high and dry they
Help to
are.
walk the lots.
Wetlands are.
Well, and I also want to look at, like you said, that the logging-related violations had been resolved. I want to see, you said it kind of looked like it was an issue, and if we wanted to put anything in the order of conditions to clear that up, we need to know what it looks like, right?
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where it had the ruts, but now the plants have all grown in, so to go back in there now, it might do more harm than, just to try to take the ruts.
Oh,
Yeah.
understood. I can't, it helps when we see it,
Yep,
right?
yep.
I'm not saying that we
No, I
won't
like to
agree with you,
schedule
we
a site
probably
walk.
will.
No, I like to schedule a site walk. I'd like to
Okay.
show you the site. Sure.
Is that something that could be done in a couple of weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you can't make it next weekend, right?
Next weekend I'm booked solid, correct. But the weekend after that, I might.
Is that too soon for you to have some stakes out there?
Would it be, could I just hang pink flags, like show the 4 corners of the house, the center line of the driveway?
Yeah.
And 4 corners of the septic?
That's exactly what we're looking
Because
for.
I could just go out in a day and get that all done in a day. Yeah.
It's impressive.
With my GPS unit,
Yeah.
When I say staked, I just mean, just so that we know where you're
You see the
where
4
we're at.
flags, the house is going to go here.
That's fine.
Sure.
Yes, the first 2 aren't too bad to 20, but the plans like this, Art and I had the same comments, Norm. You're asking why we went to 40 scale? Yeah. Because you can't see the wetland.
Yeah, it's down here and over there. I understand what you're
You
saying.
can't see it.
That's because we stayed so far away from it, Steve.
Right. But when this gets to the contractor, all the flags and the wetlands have to be, shown so he can see where they are.
All right, I'll do lots 1 and 2 on a 40 scale.
Same thing here.
All right, I'll do lots 1 and 2
I mean,
on a
if you show
40 scale.
both of them, that'd be great.
I will. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. And we're going to schedule a site walk. And we have to flag where the house well and septic are going to go.
So what's your total percentage of riverfront you're proposing?
5.9. 5.9%. So out of 6.5 acres, we're proposing to alter almost 17,000 square feet, almost a half acre of riverfront. I mean, it's all high and dry land. It's not a wetland. It's not flooding. It's just within 200 feet of the river. And we're not doing anything within 100 feet of the river. So when would you like to walk the site?
I'm looking at the 14th, which is a Sunday, only because I have 3 things on the 13th already.
August 14th?
That's what I'm looking at.
It works for me. It's at a Well, what is that day? Is that a Saturday? I think
It's
I'm coming back.
Sunday.
Yeah, I'll be back from vacation for Sunday, sure. I'm coming back on the 13th, yeah.
You could always reschedule it on a Monday, we have a meeting Monday.
I could do
Well,
Monday the 15th.
No, but we can reschedule it on the meeting on a Monday. You can't make this 14th.
I can make the 14th.
All right, let's plan for the 14th.
Okay, great.
All right. And what time of day?
11 a.m.
You like 11 a.m.?
11 a.m. works for me. All right.
So, does she own the property across the street where it looks like they're logging?
I haven't had anything to do with across the street. I did do a preliminary soil test to see where would be a good place to put a septic, but she hasn't hired me across the street yet.
Before you cross, are they running into issues? Is that a forest cutting plan that they're doing here?
I don't know, Steve, if they're doing any cutting over there. I don't know across the street. I know it's a beat-up old little house. I saw them emptying out a lot of junk
No,
from
not
it.
before you get to when you're coming from South Street, before you
Oh.
cross the stream.
I'm not aware of anything going on there. Yeah. I see a house going in. Someone's building a house in there. That's not Mary's land, though. Yeah.
Anyway, we can make it 10:30.
Sure.
Okay.
10:30 it is.
Is that all right?
All right, we'll meet you right in front of Lot 1. We'll, right, just about 300 feet across the bridge from the river. 10:30 the 14th. All right, well, thank you. I'll request a continuance to, when do you meet after the 14th?
The 15th.
Oh, okay. All right. Can I please not be put last on that agenda?
I can't control that.
Past my bedtime.
Ours too.
I know. I know.
What was it? You want to go first?
I would go first, sure.
On the 15th?
Norm, I'll put you first.
Thank you.
All right, there you
Thank-
go.
All right. All right, 7
You are
a.m.
special. Do you know how special you are?
I know.
Well, he's the only one on the next meeting, so hey.
Oh, okay, good.
So
Come on, why you give it away?
So do you have to open and continue lots 1, 2, and 3 also tonight? Or do you want a
Yes.
quick overview on those as well?
We will.
All right, do you want to first continue lot 1?
We do have to do that
I
first.
move we
and-
continue
Okay.
the meeting for Lot 1, Walnut Street, to August 15th at 7 PM.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem,
Excellent. You continue to the 15th at 7 PM. Public hearing, notice of intent, Lot 2, Walnut Street.
So, this is the next lot over, further from the river. So the river's over there, wetlands are down here. Here's your wetland line. Here's your 100-foot river line, 200-foot river line. So the driveway is in a 1 to 200 foot, and a little bit of the garage is in the 100 to 200 foot. So that's why we filed. But again, it comes up from 510 to 514, then back down to 510. And the river's way over there. So that's lot 2. Quick overview. Would you like to continue that? Do you have any questions on that, Mo?
I was going to say, did you look at the slope of the driveway? Do you have anything we could ask?
Just uphill gently, and then
Okay.
to the highest point where the house is going to be built.
And that one's not in a buff. Let me pull this up again real quick, because I just want to make sure if I have questions for you now, I could ask them.
The house and the septic are both outside of the 100-foot buffer, so
Yes.
they're not in our jurisdiction now. But it does seem to show a clearing
Yes.
in the 50, within the 100-foot buffer down to the 50.
Oh, yeah.
What is
For
that
the
clearing?
well. For the well. Yeah, that's for the well now.
The well is not shown.
The well's going to go over there.
Okay. Oh, okay, so you have it on your, I have the all lots plan. Okay, so it is on the,
Yes.
that individual plan.
Yep, yep.
So that shows it seems like a fair amount or a large amount of clearing to get the well.
Yeah, about 15 feet around that well.
Okay. That's what you need?
They'll dig a little pit for the tailings.
Okay.
And then, so you like, give them a little room to work, they're about 15 feet. The sediment that goes right around that.
And did you, perchance, look at a common driveway for the two, instead of doing two separate driveways, to be able to move that driveway outside of the buffer zone?
Personally, I'm not a fan of common driveways because people get to fight over who's plowing it, who's fixing it, you know, I just.
No, we've seen that, yeah.
So each homeowner take care of their own darn driveway and their own business, yeah.
But I mean, you already have Lot 1's driveway on Lot 2, so.
Yeah, but it's his driveway, he's got his easement, he takes care of his own driveway.
Okay.
Plus, I think common driveway requires a special permit too, doesn't it? Have to go back to the, I'd rather not go back to the planning board.
Understood.
I think that's only after three to four, you need a special permit. It might be by right for 1 to 3, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I'd rather keep it separate.
Okay.
So can we continue Lot 2?
Sure. I move we continue.
Motion. It's Lot 2 Walnut.
Lot 2 Walnut Street to August 15th at 7 o'clock.
Motion made by Mark,
What time?
7 PM.
Second.
Seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangum,
All right, thank you. And then Lot 3.
Lot 3 is another couple hundred feet further away from the river.
Yep.
Pretty much the same elevations, up and down. The house at the high point, septic in front, well out back. That thing of wetlands is back here. Get the driveway here to the garage, septic in the front yard.
So in Lot 3, you're getting closer to those, well, the wetlands are getting closer to you, and
A little bit.
and as a consequence, you're getting closer, so you've got to have the house and the driveway in the 100.
They're outside the 50.
Is there a well for this? So we just talked about the well for this
And
one.
the well's back here, because that has to be 100 feet from the septic.
We try to keep work outside the 25-foot buffer, and you are
Yeah, that well's
in
only
by
20.
5 or 10 feet
That
into
well's only
the...
20.
Is there any way that you
I
can
could probably put it
move
over
the
here.
well
Probably put it over-
and that clearing limit?
Yeah, because I'm 128 to the septic over here, so I could put that well over here and change that AVL line like that. I'll do that.
And
Get the, with the well more.
that whole line come off?
Yes, it can, yes. Yep. Yep.
Okay,
There'll be no disturbance within 25 feet.
that would be great. That can happen.
I'll revise that, get that to you next week.
All right? All right, that's my comment. The house is right on the 50-foot line?
Well, it's
Is that
about 5
correct?
feet away from it. About 5 feet away from it. But I could rotate that house a little bit, get it 10 feet away. No?
And I think that would help the corner of the driveway too, would it not?
A
Rotating,
little bit.
where it
yeah.
juts into the 50-foot
Yeah, I'll
buffer?
rotate that house a little bit, get 10 feet, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see any decks. Is there going to be a decks or sheds on the properties?
You know, I don't know, Stephen, I don't know who's gonna buy these lots. Maybe I should show a deck, because whoever buys it's probably gonna want a deck.
Yeah, and I would just put a shed,
A shed.
just so it's on
Because
the
I don't know who's
plan.
gonna buy them. Put a little shed over here. Yeah, and each of the four will be a deck and a shed. All right, it's a good idea. All right. Just stay out of the 25, out of the 52 if you can.
Yeah, try to keep the driveway and house and deck out of the
Out of the
50,
50,
and the clearing outside the 25 would be great.
Would you like to continue this one?
I will entertain a motion to continue Walnut Street, Lot 3, to August 15th at 7 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Mark. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye. Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Excellent, that's continued. Lot 4.
So lot 4, got the septic up by the street, then the house, and then the well. Here's your 25 foot. So the only thing violating that is the well. And I can bring that well over here and get outside that 25 foot. And I can take this tree clear and keep that outside the 25 foot, just like on the other one.
What determined the orientation of the septic in this one? So that it's kind of pushing things down towards the well? Or it seems to, from this angle.
Yeah, it's this way instead of this way. I think it's because of the soil testing. You know, we've got 2 deeps in a perk, 2 deeps in a perk. So your code says you're supposed to put the septic where the deeps in the perk are. So we've got the reserve area here, the septic there. Just because of the perks in the deep, you know. This comes up, the highest point is right about where the house is the highest point.
Could the house slide forward towards the road at all?
It could. The house could come forward towards the road. It can. Maybe 5 or 10 feet. Rotate that, bring that closer to the road, get it further away from that 50.
Correct.
We'll do that. That's no problem. It's the front setback.
You're accommodating tonight.
No,
This is what happens when we wear them down.
The front yard's 50, that's about 70, yeah, no problem.
All right.
Yeah, we don't know who's gonna buy these, or who's gonna build what.
Yeah.
Someone will, though.
Someone will, yeah.
Guarantee that.
Yeah, this market, yeah. Well, the recent rates, we tell it soon.
Okay.
So if you move the house forward, you said 10 feet with the tree line also?
Yes, I'm gonna bring the tree line outside that 25 foot,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm assuming there's a well tucked in. Yeah, I can see the well. Never mind.
And the well can go over here, and keep that outside the 25 foot also.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. If that's all the comments, I'll entertain a motion to continue this one. I will entertain a motion to continue lot number 4 on Walnut Street to 7 PM on August 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Eric, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
All right, we'll see you
Thank you.
that Sunday morning. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 10 is a public hearing continued for the notice of intent for the Whiten Reservoir Dam Operations Manual. Steve, do we have an update? Because
Yes, they'd like a continuance until they complete their pine weed survey.
Oh, I hope they do finish that, yep. Did they specify the 15th or?
Well, I give them the 15th.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to continue Whiten Reservoir Watershed District to August 15th at 7 PM.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
KG Dudley, aye. Continued. All right, thank you.
Can you just confirm the time of the site walk on the 14th?
10:30.
Thank you.
I concur.
And for that project, if he makes any plan changes, can you have a copy of the plans here for the next meeting?
I will.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Mark. Roll call vote.
Eric Garrett, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mongem, aye.